Well, I'm delighted to welcome Rupert Lowe to a special interview for GB News to talk about the state of the world, really, or the state of the nation. Rupert, thank you for joining me. Tell me, what is Restore's view of the current political situation? The Prime Minister fighting for his political life, the Mandelson scandal, and a civil service that could possibly be doing the right thing or one that's utterly out of control. Where is Restore on that?
Well, first of all, Jacob, can I just say what a pleasure it is to be back on GB News. It's been a long time. I've almost forgotten how to spell it. So I'm delighted that you've invited me on. It's good of you. So the answer to that question is, I think we've got basically a Prime Minister who, in my view, is economical with the truth. I think, let's talk about Mandelson. On the Mandelson issue, I spoke against the appointment of Mandelson at the time. Donald Trump described him as a moron. He was rude about Donald Trump. So on the face of it, at the time, it was the most extraordinary appointment and one which didn't make any logical common sense. Now, it appears that the appointment, listening to Ollie Robbins yesterday, I wasn't in the chamber on Monday. We voted to bring him back on Tuesday because we weren't happy with the answers he gave. So I think he's been dealing, as I say, in half-truths, in half-lies, whichever you want to define them as, in half-falsehoods, probably falsehoods. And Ollie Robbins, I think, made it quite clear yesterday that actually that the Prime Minister's office had made the decision to appoint Peter Mandelson, and what the civil servants are required to do is to find a way to deliver that appointment, even though he'd failed his vetting. So I think on the Mandelson issue, it's more of the same. I mean, I blame Blair Brown, Campbell Mandelson, and Derry Irvine for the beginning of the undermining of the British Constitution with all the various reforms they did, from the Human Rights Act to the creation of the Supreme Court to the Equalities Act, all the things that they did that I think had long-lasting, damaging consequences for the way in which we're governed. And it's probably part of the reason why we've ended up with a human rights lawyer like Keir Starmer, who I think will meet himself coming around a corner one day. So I don't like him. I don't respect him. I think he's a very poor Prime Minister. If I was forced to vote on whether he should resign, I would vote for him to resign. But half of me says actually leaving him there as a lame duck is probably better for the other parties in terms of the British public becoming tired of the Labour Party and tired of the offering which he's giving the Chagos Islands away, all of the things that are completely illogical. So I think, to your point there, I wasn't in the chamber. If I'm forced to vote on it, I would support a vote of no confidence.
And that leaves you with your own party. And the question is, where is your own party going? Because JL Partners did some polling on your name recognition. And your name recognition is lower than mine, which you would have thought was almost impossible as you're the leader of a party. But 92% of people don't know who you are.
Well, Jacob, you're a national treasure. So
that's very flattering.
We've all heard of you because of your sort of eccentricity and your lounging in Parliament, looking like you were sort of in the public school prefect's lounge.
But you better do some lounging, because with only 8% of people knowing who you are,
I think a lot more than 8% of people. We were stopped by how many people on the way here?
Yeah, but
3 or 4 people.
But
honestly,
this was a poll of 2,200 people. Your name recognition actually gone down in the last year. There's obviously a margin of error.
That's fine. Let's see, Jacob. I think that's not right.
Okay, but Nigel has taken 30 years on the public stage to get to the point where his party is sometimes at 30% in the polls. How credible?
It was at 30% in the polls. It no longer is.
25 to 30. But how
Probably
credible
lower.
is it to go from nothing, no name recognition, no real public profile, one MP on his own, to winning an election? Don't you need to be working with the Conservative Party as you are on the Public Council?
Maybe I'm deluding myself, Jacob, but I'm going to continue to delude myself, and I'm going to continue to build my party, because I don't think that survey is correct.
All right, but Rupert,
I don't know who they interviewed and who they talked to, but our polling indicates that we are polling somewhere between 8 and 10%. None of the existing polls are naming us yet. So I don't think that is consistent with what you're asking me with regard to that one, which I think is a rogue goal.
But deluding yourself really matters, because if you make it more likely in 2029 that we get a coalition of possibly Angela Rayner, Zach Polanski, and whoever the SNP leader is, that is disastrous for the country. This isn't a game. This is really serious.
I do know that, and I can tell you reassuringly that a lot of the people who are joining us, and we now have 131,000 signed up supporters. Now, ours are real supporters. I call the Reform membership the Hotel California membership, because it's easier to sign up. It's less easy to check in. It's less easy to check out. But the important point here is that from the people we're seeing joining up, the exciting thing is that a lot of them have not been involved in British politics for 25 or 30 years. So we are offering them an opportunity to join a party which actually I think is reflective of what they want and what they think. Now, they haven't been offered that. Neither have they been offered it verbally, nor have the hands actually shown that they're going to deliver that. Now, we have, as you say, not only said what we're going to do, and we've got a lot more research coming. We've got research coming on border control. We've got research coming. I'm doing a big economic paper. I'm doing a big energy paper. We're doing a paper on IHT. We've said we'll scrap IHT. It's a very, very small raiser of tax. Ultimately, we're doing a paper on almost, raising the VAT threshold. All the things we're going to do to release honest people and allow them to pursue their lives unfettered by a nanny state which has become, if you like, a burden on the back of productive Britain.
All right. I don't disagree with much of that either.
So we're bringing in new voters, Jacob. We're not necessarily dragging voters from Tories or indeed from Reform. We are bringing some, and we had a defection yesterday in South Cornwall of a Reform candidate, a very good man called Roger Tarrant, who joined us, deputy leader of the council down there, shares our view, businessman, got very frustrated with the way in which Reform was dealing with it.
If you bring in new voters, that still doesn't get you to winning a majority. It still leaves the same problem of the right being split.
It increases the common sense vote, not diminishes it.
But it doesn't work like that in a first past the post system. There isn't a common sense vote. There's a vote for Reform, there's a vote for Restore, there's a vote for the Tories. If the three of them split the vote, we get a left-wing government.
Well, it depends how many new voters you bring in. As you know, Keir Starmer won his majority on a 35% share of the vote.
That's right. But if you take the turnout of the last election was just under 70%. It had fallen off. Actually, 2019 was 70%.
Well, there's a lot of people who haven't voted.
30%. If you got all of those 30% to vote, which is inconceivable because even in the 1950s we were only getting up to an 80% voter level. But let's say you do, you're still not necessarily even coming first.
Well, I think
I think even if you look at your argument, it's quite a recidivist argument. What you're saying is you shouldn't make your own offering which you think the people want, because you might cause a problem to the existing parties who've let them down. No, it's because I'm saying you don't have a chance of winning.
But if the Tories win, Jacob, they've already had a play with an 80-seat majority. What did they do with it? You tell me.
Well, it doesn't look as if the Tories can win from
what did they do with an 80-seat majority?
Level, what
did they do?
We left the European Union, which is quite important.
Well, we played a part in that too.
Well, you weren't in Parliament to play a part in that.
I was in the European Parliament.
The European Parliament, fortunately, was abolished when we left, from our point of view.
I left the European Parliament at that time, so I know that. But you tell me, what did the Tories do with an 80-seat majority that you were proud of, other than that?
We introduced the Free Speech Higher Education Bill. We began the process of deregulating.
Why didn't you reverse all of the malign legislation that Tony Blair had passed?
Because I had a bill to remove 5,000 EU laws, and unfortunately Rishi Sunak kiboshed it because he was hopeless. But
Tory.
What I'm trying to get on to is that actually if you reunite the right, it is not a one-nation right. The one-nation rump in the Tory party is now very small. If you speak to Tory members, which I do quite a lot of, the one-nation rump doesn't exist. And that if we can bring that together, we have a real opportunity for victory that can do what both of us want, whereas you flying your own kite actually doesn't do anything, and you won't get what you want you'll get the precise opposite, which is a continuation of the hard left running this country.
Well, I don't agree with that, Jacob. So, I mean, that's your opinion. And I'm intending to run as I'm running and doing what I'm doing. We're now actually, we've sort of very powerful in the air war, which we're arguably the best at that of anybody in Parliament. You know, on all of our social media platforms, we are massive, bigger than most national newspapers by a long way. Facebook, X, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, the whole lot. We cover the whole spectrum. But not everybody is on social media. No. So what's now happened since we launched the party in February, we've now got over 400 branches up and running. And if you came and saw the level of enthusiasm of real people fighting for local democracy, you would be astounded.
Well, Rupert, thank you very much for giving quite so much of your time. As I say, I think we ultimately need to come together in the same sort of party. But I say that to Nigel as well, and neither you nor Nigel seem to be biting. But there we go. Rupert, thank you very much.
I'm not
going to do that. Thank you.